Jason Welch has been gracious enough to agree to an interview today as news has come out that he is now the head coach at San Francisco State University. For those of you that have been living under a rock and not paying attention to California wrestling the last decade, you may not know his name. 3-time NCAA All-American, NCAA finalist for Northwestern, and most recently you competed out of the RTC at Northwestern University. Jason is the new coach at SF State, and we are happy to have him on the phone today. Like, what are the most influential factors that inspired this move for you? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but you just took the assistant coaching job at Northwestern, right? You weren't officially on the staff until this year.
Right. I guess, I mean, for me, it's been a long-term goal of mine to get back to California and coach. And when I was in college and even for a while post-grad, I didn't know if I wanted to be a high school teacher and coach or a college coach, and which would provide me the lifestyle I wanted and also the job I wanted and the career and the ability to give back. And once I decided a couple years ago I wanted to coach college, then I started working towards that factor. And I mean, I seriously love Northwestern. I think it's an amazing place, a life-changing place, unique. It provides something that I don't think a lot of other schools can at the college, the D1 level, which is, the full package, the well-rounded package, the school, the academics, and the wrestling and the location. Because I love Chicago. It's a top 15 school in the country, number 12 this year, and great wrestling program, So for me, in my alma mater, I just thought that this was the best place for me to train. I love Coach Torniolo and the Northwestern administration. But in the back of my head, I always knew that I wanted to live in California with my family, raise my kids there. And, so for me, this is something I didn't think would come up or be available until later down the road, when I was a little older, or perhaps, it's so hard to tell with wrestling, with college wrestling, when opportunities open up and how long are few and far between. So knowing that this is a long-term goal of mine, when this job came up, I thought I have to jump on this. And I do love Northwestern. I'm so thankful for my time there. And as a student, an athlete, as a coach, but that said, it's been a dream of mine to coach wrestling in California. And if I can do that at the college level, especially in a city that I love in San Francisco, I mean, that's huge for me. And, this is it's full circle, it's life-changing for me and a huge opportunity.
Yeah, it's got to be good feeling like you're going home some, to some extent. But the turnaround, just playing devil's advocate a little bit, the turnaround on you accepting that position and then accepting this position has been super fast. What are the critics going to say? And I think there's only two things that really come to mind for me with this move. And one of them is you just taking the job in Northwestern and then that really being your first job and your experience level. So what would you say, kind of building off that first question of moving from Northwestern to SF State, what would you say to people who, actually had the courage to address those critiques to you?
I would say that, yes, I haven't been involved officially in college coaching for very much time at all, but I've been coaching since I was in high school in a way, between camps and clinics and working with kids and helping out with the local kids club. And then going forward in college, I was always involved with summer camps, always involved with our Wildcat Wrestling Club and with coaching kids. And then going forward, as a resident athlete at Northwestern for the past 3 or 4 years, I was in the room every day, So it's not like I was just a workout partner. I was doing one-on-ones. I was helping the guys. And I was actually the head coach at a high school and a volunteer there for a year and a half. I was a head coach for a year, volunteer for an extra year and a half from that. And so, yes, I haven't had official college coaching experience, but I've been in the game for a while now, despite what one might say. So I feel like that qualifies me and that I'm ready. And maybe ideally I would have had, a year or two to train or longer or whatever to receive that more official assistant coach time. But the fact is that this is opportunity is now, and I think I'm the best candidate for the job, and it's go time.
I mean, obviously, you're not the only person who feels like you're the best candidate of the job. The job is now yours. So that is pretty sweet thing. You know, you talked a little bit about the time you've spent coaching already and the experience you do have. Would you say that you have kind of an articulatable coaching style? And if you do, how would you describe that?
Yeah, I would say some things that I bring to the table that are particularly emphasized in how I coach are, let's go through a little list. Let's say enthusiasm is big for me. I think these are maybe, smaller things that you might think people might think like, oh, duh, like coaches are like this, but you'd be surprised what the reality is. But having enthusiasm, being positive, and being excited to be there, wrestlers, kids don't want to wrestle for a coach who doesn't want to coach them, and as maybe redundant as that is or whatnot, it's important that I come into the room every day excited to be there. I'm letting the kids know that I want this, I want to be there helping him. I'm here for them, for their best interest. This isn't about me. This is about them. And so that's big for me, enthusiasm, positive attitude. And then the other thing for me is technique. I'm a huge technique geek. And I think to a certain point, you can have a coach who wants to help and the kids work hard and he inspires them. But if you don't have that technique, if you haven't been to a training center and worked out with top guys and wrestle at a certain level and learn from certain people and to a certain height, you can only get kids so far. So another thing I bring to the table is world class and like cutting edge technique. We're not going to be stuck in the past with our technique at SF State. It's going to be all new stuff, and it's going to be, I'm not saying we'll be the funkiest team necessarily or everyone has to wrestle like me, but I'm going to give the kids the knowledge to wrestle however they wrestle best for themselves. And that's the last thing probably I'll say is that I think wrestling is really not a top-down sport as far as the way you can approach kids and their wrestling. Every wrestler has a different set of skills, whether it's the personality, their actual body, their physique, what they're like, and making sure that kids, it might be really important that the wrestler A, I teach them a little single finish, and how to do motion and stay outside. And wrestler B, he might be a defensive guy, Maybe he's not the most, wild or risk-taking individual, and I need to teach him to be better at doing what he's good at, And I think catering to the individual is really important, and getting the most out of each kid, knowing that they're each important and each deserve their own style. And I think I have the knowledge to teach a kid who's a single leg guy how to be a single leg guy, how to be good at that, to teach a kid who's a grinder and just strong and mean and tough. And I can teach that too, So having the diversity to cater to each individual style and get the most out of each kid's personality.
Man, I could go a couple different ways with that, but let's go straight at SF State. The program itself is not necessarily at its peak, right? I don't think they qualified anyone to the NCAA tournament last year. I think they finished last in the conference. Can you, now that we've kind of talked about your style a little bit, can you tell us some of your, really what I'm most interested in is your immediate goals. And then maybe if you want, you can expand that out to more of the long term. But what do you think you're going to be able to accomplish at SF State in the next couple of years? Obviously, knowing that you haven't seen your team yet or even been to campus yet, this being way early, what do you think you can do there?
I think with a program like SF State, the important thing to note is not necessarily where they are today, and that they didn't qualify anyone for nationals, although that is, of course, an important note, but where they've been, that they've been national champs before, and that once Cal Baptist transitions into D1, they'll be the only D2 in California, if I'm not mistaken. And I feel like there's potential there. I think for a local guy like myself, a California native who understands the local climate and how things work there, and really want to spend time creating relationships with people, which I do, and it's my community, it's people I value, that it's a gold mine,
Are you comfortable tangibly like setting some benchmark kind of competitive goals at this point, or you need to see your team first?
Mm-hmm. I think I need to see the team first, and that's the biggest thing. I'm interested to see really what kind of potential kids currently on the team have, and I can talk about recruiting kids who are going to be my recruits and what they'll do and how that goes. But as far as the talent on the current team, I just haven't been there yet. And but what I'm hoping to find and what maybe I've been hearing rumors of is that there are some talented kids on the team who need maybe to be re-energized or a new passionate young head coach like myself, and that under the right circumstances they can succeed. And maybe they didn't this year for whatever reasons, but it's not like they don't have the ability to do so. Just about getting the most out of them and getting them to love the sport and compete.
Of you being the local guy, how big of an impact do you think that is on getting the job? I mean, you're obviously from a half hour outside of the city in Walnut Creek area.
Yep.
I would imagine you were the only person who applied that had that kind of local wrestling knowledge and background. How big is that for you and SF State?
I think that's huge. I mean, that's a huge factor for me personally for getting back, I mean, I'm a California guy. I'm a California kid at heart, I know Uriah Davis kind of tagged that, and I won't try to take that from him. But I think, I even in college, I always came out to California Love, was like my walkout song. So I think I've maintained that strong identity and bond with the local community, and that's huge for me personally, going back to my family and giving to the community that I love. And then secondly, for SF State, I really think that's going to take a California native to bring that program to the next level. Just the savvy and the relationships and et cetera that you can, I guess you can build something coming to a new community, but I think it's much easier to do so and can happen faster if you're from that community. I'm not walking into a new territory where I don't know, the local coaches or, the powers who be. I think I'm stepping into familiar grounds just in a new role. So I think it's going to be huge for me, for recruiting, for fundraising, for getting the community involved. And something I think that's really important to me, too, is that I would love for my wrestlers to not just win, but to win with class, to get back to the community, to get involved with giving back to Northern California. So, yeah, I have a big vision for the team and for not just winning, but how we're going to win, what kind of environment we're going to build, what kind of culture, and the image and rebranding the SF State.
With what's gone on in wrestling in California and the West Coast in general, during the interview process and the hiring process, what is your sense of SF State's administration's commitment to the wrestling program? I know we just saw Boise State drop their program 10 months after getting a new coach. Does it seem like SF is dedicated to maintaining the program? And obviously, with you being hired, it seems to indicate that they're planning on moving forward and being competitive. But do you have any reservations or any indicators knowing that wrestling has been somewhat under attack on the West Coast?
I've been put under the impression that SF State is in a very solid position to not just maintain the program, but to see succeed. I think the administration there and the search committee and the president and the AD wouldn't have taken the time to hire me, and especially when it wasn't necessarily the best time for me in my career, being that I was at Northwestern, had some other things going on. And if they had other intentions, I think let's put it this way. One of my first questions when I was interviewed for the job is, what is the status of the program? What am I walking into? And I was assured by the administration that our program is in good standing and that we're not only want to be a program that stays alive, but one that does well. So I'm under the impression that we're all good, green, and it's going to be a great journey.
What are some of the things that you're, looking forward to the most, specifically, like being away from the Bay Area for all these years? What's some of the stuff you're kind of licking your chops about getting back to the Bay Area. I'm a Bay Area guy, you know, I love the city and all of that. I'm curious to know what, you know, is there something specific when you fly out here, whenever it is, like probably in the next week, I would imagine? What's some of the first stuff you're going to do personally to, you know, as your homecoming to the Bay Area?
Well, I'm probably going to work for about 20 days straight to get things going. But as soon as I can still away, I'm going to go surfing right away. I think one cool thing about SF State is that it's right next to Ocean Beach. So I'm literally walking distance from sweet waves. And, I mean, something that I miss about, you know, in my personal life about living on the West Coast is surfing and having that sort of, that time away from the world. You know, I think, most athletics, but especially something like surfing where you're in the water, you really get away from your cell phone, from the world. There's some sort of, zen and meditation. And I think it's really important to to someone's health and their performance and their lifestyle. So I'll be looking to get in the water as soon as I can.
Well, with that kind of answer, you might be able to talk your eye into coming in for some sessions. I know that dude loves to get in the water as well. Yeah, that's cool, man. And then, you know, speaking of the community in SF and the things going on there, SF's wrestling scene has been, you know, pretty depressed of late. It's not, you know, the Olympian sort of wrestling that they've had in the past there in the, you know, late 60s and even before that has been kind of a thing of the past for quite some time. What do you think? Do you think you'll have an impact? Is that a goal at all? Is that something in your mind? What do you think the impact you and SF State could have on that local wrestling community there in San Francisco and the greater Bay Area?
Yeah, I think one of the first things I want to do is, let me rephrase that. So I think my first responsibility will be to the college kids and to seeing them succeed and preparing them for life, right? And then I think my second responsibility will be to the greater community and, you know, finding out, you know, what nonprofits are at work, who's doing work in the community, how can I be at service, you know, what is the status and the ongoings of things like Beat the Streets, things like Sunville Wrestling, and other people who are doing work in the community. So, I mean, that's going to be big for me personally, and I think for something I get my wrestlers involved in is giving back. And then speaking of, you know, Olympians and world-class guys, there's a lot, like so many post-grads who are amazing wrestlers and some who still want to compete who are in the Bay Area and near the city. So I think getting involved with USA Wrestling, chartering a club, and eventually becoming a regional training center will be huge, not just for me and the just of my program, but for the local community. And that's something that I want to see happen sooner than later and will be a priority list for me is finding out how to do that efficiently and so that we can bring more people in and do so in a legal compliant way where we can benefit not just the program but the community and allow SF to kind of regrow back to that status you talked about in the, I think it was the 60s or 70s when there were Olympians in the room, you know? I think people like, let's just say, name one or two, like the Novachuk brothers or other people who are in the Bay Area and around who, there's huge resources, great people, amazing wrestlers. And once you have a regional training center, they can start coming to the room. You can start helping kids as well, and it really just broadens your reach. And it's not my intention to just be a successful wrestling program with SF State, but to really influence the whole community and to give back and to grow something special and unique.
So for all the athletes in the Bay Area looking to get recruited by your program, what advice would you give them? And specifically, what are the most important characteristics you're looking for in recruits for SF State?
I would say for kids who would like to know SF State, who are looking to be recruited, is that, yes, your wrestling is going to be extremely important, and that, you know, at the bottom line, I need kids who have talent and are going to perform, right? But I'm also looking for potential. I'm looking for culture, for respect, how you win, how you lose, how you act after the match, how you act in the classroom, Are you a kid who's going to graduate? Are you a kid who's going to fail out, you know? Are you going to be respectful? Are you going to be kind to others? Are you going to help with my rebranding, help with the image of SF State, of the wrestling program that I want to share with people? So I think that's huge for me. I mean, you'd be surprised, not surprised actually, but you'd be, you know, interested to find out that I do know college coaches who will be more interested sometimes in seeing how a kid loses and how he talks to his parents and how he, you know, and those sort of things. And no one wants a bad apple on their team. No one wants to give up that kind of time. No one wants that headache and to be distracted, you know. I want kids who are going to come in, work hard, get their stuff done, do well in the classroom, and win with class. And, I mean, there's no time, especially going in this late in the game for me when we're preseason, well, not preseason, that is starting in a week. There's no time to lose, and when I'm trying to create this culture and recruit anyone who doesn't fit that mold.
Coach Welch, thank you for your time. Appreciate you taking 20 minutes out your day to talk to us, and we look forward to seeing you soon in the Bay Area. Again.
Thanks. See you, Dan.